My point is proven.
Yeah, not funny at all, and it could have been a good show if you had fucking got coughing cancer.
Now, remember, it is a kid's show. That brings us on to number 4. My God, when we came back to do the best of, we never thought it was going to fly this quickly.
No.
But number 4, Charlie, explain what happens in number 4.
Well, to the best of my recollection, number 4 is...
Which isn't great with the alcohol and that, but go ahead.
Well, I think I've got this one covered. This is one of my few moments to shine on the show. Unfortunately, and I do admit this, folks, when I impersonated a character on the show, I tended to dominate. And Goldie, you would admit you never got your questions in.
With this guy, yes, that would be correct.
So we had at number 4 a blind Irish swimmer, Stephen Campbell, who had just won the gold medal in the Winter Olympics.
That's incorrect.
Also known as the Summer Olympics in the Southern Equator. Also known as the Autumn Olympics in the Western Equator.
And again, that's incorrect.
Eastern Olympics.
In fact, it was the Special Olympics, the Blind Olympics.
We forgot to mention that he was blind. But Goldie, of course, only sees, folks, and he fell into my trap, he only sees the disabilities, which of course, as you know, is what the whole point of the 4th clip is, that basically Stephen refuses to see his blindness as a disability, he sees it as...
And he doesn't see it at all, which is a kind of a pun, which means... It's
I'm glad you picked up on that.
Yeah,
People have to explain that one to you.
He doesn't, no. So number 4, really, for me, there's not much really to say about number 4. It is what it is. Stephen Campbell, who is blind, believed he gained his blindness and not lost his sight. And of course, Goldie Metcalf decided to take advantage of that. Anything else you'd like to say, Charlie?
Well, I didn't read it as that. I thought it was about a heroic struggle to overcome the odds of being a swimmer in Northern Ireland. But I'll leave it at that. You wouldn't understand.
Look out for Charlie's shit Northern accent. In at number 4, Stephen Campbell. You lost your sight when you were 16 years old.
No, you see, I gained my blindness.
You gained your
I gained my blindness, yeah.
You gained your blindness
at the age of 16.
At the age of 16 years of age.
Yeah.
Can you tell me how that happened?
Yes, and the coach at the time I was talking about in Tyrone, he gave it to me. He gave it to me. I shouldn't even know if you're standing up there. I should be still staring here. So,
you probably felt the movement there, did you? Sorry, I just had to go up and...
That's what the coach said. That's what the coach said to me when I was 16.
You can feel the movement. I just had to fix my...
I thought I could hear. I thought I could hear something going there. Essentially, to sum up my career before I was 16,
yeah,
the coach penetrated me in my eyeball, and I lost my sight, and I haven't been able to find it. I gained my blindness, and I haven't been able to lose that.
Stephen Campbell and his blindness, huh? Okay, guys.
Remember he fell off the bus.
Oh, I do. He was actually supposed to be in season 3, but fell off the airplane and had a series of unfortunate events. Really,
I'm just glad I'm not blind.
Exactly. But you will go blind if you keep doing what you're doing. I, of course, have no problem getting the winner. Okay, guys, that brings us to the top 3.
I'd have music on this if I was making a DVD.
Well, that's it. And the top 3 are really, and fair play to you guys out there, for me they are really truly the top 3 moments. I know Charlie doesn't agree and he'd like to have the whole introduction there, but for me they are the best moments from My Uncle's Hat. And in number 3, just to explain to you, and if you remember, it's just from the recent Series 5 that we did, Series 5, we had Frank Spencer on our show. And I was in the middle of interviewing Frank, and Frank was trying to explain to us that, like Charlie, he has a drinking problem. And a drinking problem was not excess alcohol, but was actually he couldn't get it in his mouth. And the very funny thing about this, Charlie, was, a condition that Frank had to come on the show was that we actually go out to his residence and shoot there.
Goldie, what did I say to you about that night?
It was the best night of your life. Okay, because Frank, in typical Frank Spencer mantra, if you like, he destroyed his own house.
I mean, folks, you cannot buy this kind of humour. Well, you can, $14.99 a pop, DVD out now, but you usually can't. You usually can't buy it.
No.
But I happened upon that night and what goalie happened upon, and I'm sure what happened upon Frank was when you got three people of a similar ilk together and enough drink and the right atmosphere and the right songs.
The reference to drink again there, Charlie.
Once again, yeah, it becomes very important to the show, as you can see. But I mean, that was a great night. What interests me about this clip is that would it be fair to say he was our best guest ever?
He would be probably, and as the rankings show, he's certainly in the top three.
Statistically, our best guest ever.
Statistically.
And I, folk agree with you. For me, the best guest interview and the best guest to have me literally lying on the floor was Mr. Frank Spencer. Not because I think of intentional humour, because of sheer wildness, which is unplanned, unscripted, and at its best even is not aware of itself. And that's why I think, and I justify the audience member's choice of number 3, Frank Spencer.
I do agree, and can I just say, for without Charlie, and this is the first time, Charlie, that all of your power grabbing and you're trying to take over the show. This was the first time that it worked out as a success, because when you see this clip, what happened was I was interviewing Frank, Charlie interrupted and demanded we took a shot, and if Charlie hadn't interrupted that time, we wouldn't have had that funny moment. And that is one of those moments where Charlie has always gone through problems, has helped out the show, and it's great to watch.
I really appreciate those word of wisdom, goalie. It's so helpful and touching. And folks, on a personal note, I'd like to thank goalie for his contributions to the show. Who was asking Frank the questions? It was goalie. Who was organising the show? It was goalie. Goalie.
No, but Charlie, you made the funniest moment that night. And not only, if you look at the whole chain of events, okay, what happened was you interrupted part 1. He had the shot part 2, threw the shot on the curtain part 3. After doing that, he stood up and smashed a glass in his own house. He destroyed the place.
It's just a matter of interest, goalie. Where was his wife?
His wife, in fact, was Betty. She was inside in the living room watching TV while all this was going on.
Betty
Absolutely
once again
hilarious.
overcomes the odds.
Absolutely.
Unbelievable.
So guys, sit down, grab your drinks. This
Relax.
is a classic moment. Enjoy this. Number 3, Frank Spencer and the shot glass. And Frank, Betty, how is Betty? Are you still okay, sorry, Charlie, you work away there.
No.
All we're going to do is Zambuca, Frank.
Live on air.
Live on air.
Oh,
Frank.
yes.
Frank,
Are we going to do that?
You want to do it, Frank?
Frank,
Hey,
would Betty mind you doing
Sure,
it
Frank.
Zambuca?
Betty would say to me, you have a drink problem, which I have. And my drink problem is, I kind of go like this.
Frank, that's fucking uncalled for now, Frank.
I know.
I know.
Where is Charlie gone?
Where's Charlie? Charlie's on the ground, dead in bits. Okay. Charlie,
Why keep this in my mouth? That's my drink problem.
that's a drink.
Yes.
And there's fucking Zambuca all over the fucking curtain. He's fucking his class. Ladies and gentlemen, if you stay tuned, we have a very...
Hello, good evening, and welcome. The man, it was a man's name, David Frost. Hello, good evening,
Well done, Frank. Now, Charlie... Frank, as usual, has a bit of a mishap. So, ladies and gentlemen, please stay tuned. We have our next guest coming on. Frank is going to stay with us, so please...